Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
This is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. With me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman, Craig Pinches, Aren, and once again today we're joined by a special guest, Nick Daveis, who's an NLP practitioner, hypnotherapist and life coach. And I thought today we'd talk about some different stuff. Now we're in January and thinking sometimes we're at that table of life, feeling a bit shitty and a bit down. And on our one side we've got the antidote, and on the other side we've got the poison. But often when we're already in that dark place of despair or whatever, instead of reaching for the antidote, that phone call, that appointment with someone like Nick, we often turn towards the poison chalice, the booze, the drugs, the self-loathing. And I was just wondering, Nick, why is this?
That's a good question. The main reason is to do with energy. So we've got a finite amount of energy, and once you get past the age of 30, everybody knows that. When you're a kid, I envy children running around. You'll see little Jazz running around, going mad, got all this energy, and they can expend it as much as they want. But as an adult, you start to have a finite amount of energy. And once you go into energy deficit, and this is where we get things. So the first signal is stress. So we start to get frustrated with things. And that's the point where you need to get help, because when you're stressed, you've got the energy to ask for help. Next thing is where you start to get anxiety or low mood. And that's where your resources are so depleted that what your body's trying to do, and it's trying to do the right thing. To ask for help requires energy. You've got to pick yourself up and you've got to try and sound chirpy, because you don't want to throw all your problems onto your friends. So you've got to take extra energy to do that. So your body's saying, no, what I'm going to do, and all of these illnesses, what people don't realise, if you look at the signs, they're there to protect you. So stress, anxiety, depression, what they're saying to you is go to bed, relax, rest, rejuvenate. Then when you've got the energy, normally that's enough to move forward. But what I say to people is, it's like when I used to get anxiety and panic attacks. And the thing is like whenever you've had an anxiety or a panic attack, you're always predisposed to get it again. So I know I can push myself to get anxiety again. And there's someone who pushes themselves quite hard. And I was saying this to Kev when we were on the radio in London. And I want to say this because I don't want people to think just because of the job I do, I don't struggle, because I do. And we were on the radio for 2.5 hours on a London radio station. So for me, I had a couple of things to worry about. So one, I didn't realise about getting through London, how difficult that would be for Kev with his eyes. Kev's amazing, never asked for help, but we're on the escalators and I'm thinking, how'd he get on those? So I started to get stressed about, have I taken the right care of my friend here? Then I'm starting to panic about, we're on there for 2.5 hours, what's going to happen then? So the first 11 minutes of the show, and Kev will tell you this, they didn't introduce him. So inside of me, I'm thinking, how rude, why haven't they brought him into this? So basically, my emotional rucksack, if you like, started to fill up. And then about an hour in, I started to feel anxiety. I started to get a pain in my head, I started to feel lightheaded, started to feel sweaty. And I'm thinking, oh God, I hope this is not being picked up. Now I know how to deal with my panic.
And it was filmed as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was sitting there thinking, and Kev said to me afterwards, oh, you smashed it, sat near the, no one would have ever known, because I know how to change my breathing and everything else, and I'll give you a technique later on in this video podcast, how to control those things. But when you push yourself too far, everybody can get back to those things. And the thing is the first thing you've got to do is rest. And the one thing I do, and what you'll notice with people who suffer with any form of mental illness, whether it's stress, anxiety, depression or anything worse than that, it's always people who are people pleasers and they're perfectionists. So they're always pushing themselves too hard. It's not that they're weak, it's just that level of energy that you've got, they go into energy deficit. And when you're in energy deficit, like Kev says, you go for the worst thing. But actually it's not the worst thing. Because what happens if you do have that drink, or you do what some people do, or lie in bed or do whatever, sometimes and most of the time that gets you through. It gives you enough of a crutch to get through. My advice to you is, whenever you're feeling stressed, is recognise this signal in your body. Like for me with anxiety, I know when I get it bad, I think I'm going to die, I'm going to pass out, I'll go cold, I'll get dissociative disorder, I think I'm not there, I can't identify or connect with things, and that's when I get really bad panic attacks, or I have in the past. But now I recognise the precursor to all of that is where I get an aching in the middle of my back. And as soon as I get that aching in the middle of my back, it's my body saying I'm tired, and then it goes into sweaty palms, then I start to sweat, then I start to dry mouth, and then I start to get dizzy, and then moves up to anxiety. So the first thing I would advise people is find out what's the first recognition that you're stressed, and mine's an aching back, and I've got a choice, right, do I calm down now? And when we're in London, I felt my back aching on the train. I'm thinking, I'll be all right. I knew at some point that if I pushed past that, I was going to feel some anxiety. I was able to control it, because obviously I'm adept in that now, and I'll show you guys how to do it. But that's, you know, why we make those bad choices. When you've got energy, then you can make the good choices.
It's funny, like when we're on about the radio, like when we're in the pub afterwards for a debrief. Well, skinful. And we were there, and I was saying, because as Nick said, 11 minutes, and I felt so out of place.
Yeah.
So these higher educated men, and it was, hello Nick, and I sat there and I watched the video, hopefully
That's all that you sent me, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll send it to you, and hopefully if you can put it on our page.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's long, but you see, when I was sat there for those 11 minutes, it felt like 2 days. I was sat there, and you could see me like this, and then it was, and every time I tried to open up about my eyes, and the reason why they got me on there to talk about my eyes and being a boxing instructor, every time I said something, they shot me down. And that's just a different interviewing skill than I have. But I learned so much that day. But as you watch it, I progressed as a person, because not only was I in my place, I commanded it by the end.
Yeah.
And it was feeling that little boy at the back of the class thinking, I don't want to put my hand up. Because if I ask for help, they're going to belittle me. And by the end, I was thinking, no, I've got something to say, and I will say it proud. And that's thanks to Men's Radio Station and Aren on my first ever podcast. That helped us to build this. So I remember when we first did that, Aren, I had the flu, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I thought, why not do it? I thought, all I'm doing is talking. I'm not getting punched in the head. I haven't got to go and lay tiles or pick slabs up. I thought, we can do this. Because what did Joe Calzaghe say?
Yeah, he said in 90 to 95% of his fights he either had a niggling injury or was ill or something like that. He said, you're never 100%, and that's a message I get across to people. And I was saying, we went to London, we didn't realise how stressful it was going to be getting to the radio station first. Yeah. You know, we planned the day out, but it was actually a lot more stressful. and to go on the radio for 2.5 hours on a radio station that's going live and it's on video, there's going to be a lot of stress around there. You say one thing, is it going to end your career? Is it, you know, going to do this?
And we didn't know if it was going to be for 15 minutes,
no,
half an hour, and they just get, and that's why I think I had the anxiety, because we've been on there for almost 15 minutes and they hadn't even introduced me. I think, you know, we're just going to go, well, thank you, Kev. And I think, thank you.
Well, another point, and I said this to Kev over the phone, was I said, what if they were anxious and nervous about you? I said, because what you don't realise is people who haven't boxed have been around this environment, that can be intimidating for them. And he's blind, and the other thing they said is they didn't realise he was blind, because Kev just walked in, did his usual thing, tapping things with his feet and his hands, and they said, I would never know he was blind. He just shook our hands, sat down normally. So I said to Kev, actually, they were the ones who were feeling anxious, and they possibly felt out of place, because when it was only when you got on the pads really that they were like, oh right, we've got that out of the way kind of thing, and then they were like, that showed him total respect after that.
I suppose like a metaphor for that would be your reaction to a spider. I don't like spiders.
Yeah.
You know, it's a spider and you shit yourself and all, you're scared or creeped out, but you know, how many times bigger than them?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's sort of the way it is. They're bound to feel some sort of way about you, so I suppose I had to bring spiders up, say 8 spiders. But yeah, it's one of my fears. Going back to what you said about having like a physiological point tattoo, I'll get heavy eyes.
That's yours then.
Heavy eyes is mine, and I'll say to my partner, I'll say, if I've been slightly stressed or I'm slightly down, I'll say, my eyes are heavy. And then knows that knows a bad time's coming if my eyes go heavy.
Yeah, so that's the time you go for self-care. And heavy eyes, if you think about it, and this is how I know you push yourself too hard, your body going, I need to go to sleep. So you're fighting sleep at that point, so you think how exhausted your body is. And then when I say this to people and you're pushing yourself too hard, this, that and the other, and what people don't realise, and it's the same in sport, I say, if you push yourself 10 out of 10, your results tail off. Your peak point, your flow state is between 7 and 9. So if you're a high energy person, it's probably a 9. If you're a lower energy person, probably a 7. But between 7 and 9 out of 10 is your peak, your flow state, the zone. But we're conditioned, and I used to do this at school because my dad was forever beating me, going, yeah, we've got to get your results, try harder, try, and I couldn't honestly try any harder. And my results kept coming back, you know, I scraped through, but my results kept coming back bad. Whereas now I realise with study, I swallow books for fun now on neuroscience because I'm so relaxed with it. I enjoy it. And if sometimes we've all had it, I read a page, it doesn't go in. I read it again, it doesn't go in. I'll go, time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, it's recognising and not pushing yourself too hard.
I think that's what it is, because with me, for years now, I'd say for the last at least 5 to 8 years, I've done nothing but burn the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
You know, with my music, so destined to create a pathway for my kids, so as they don't have to live. I'll say the life I've had a good life, but the working life that I have. So I've had that, and then I've had jobs around the house, and I'll go to work at 6 in the morning, and sometimes I'm still working at 10 o'clock on the night. Or I'm emailing, or I'm up till 2, 3 in the morning emailing, or editing music, or doing something.
Let me give you a metaphor. There's 2 cars, exactly the same. The first car, somebody's driving, and they decide, right, I'm not going to bother refueling or getting it serviced or anything like that. I'm going to drive this hard and as fast as I can. And the other person says, you know what, when the service light comes on, I'm going to check it in. When it needs refueling, when it needs new tyres, I'm going to do that. Which car's going to go the furthest in both of the lives of those cars? So it's obvious, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the thing, if you think about it, we drive ourselves too hard, too fast. And someone was saying about anxiety, it's the #1 search term in my industry. So the first thing that people look for is anxiety. And I can't remember, one of you guys said on the last podcast, I don't remember kids being anxious when we were young. Yeah. And what I say is that there's a difference now. I think we suffer, there's a lot more toxins in the food chain than there used to be. The pesticides and things they use now are a lot stronger than they used to be, and that's why our food looks so perfect. And the weird thing is in life, what I've recognised is the more perfect something looks, the worse it is on the inside. And I remember when I was young, you know, fruit and veg would be a bit ugly and this, that and the other. But it was healthy, it was organic, you know, and so you've got those pesticides in. So if you think about it, the extra toxins we've got in the neurotoxins, like sweeteners, like aspartame and things like that, all these things going into your body, when your body is fighting against that, that's going to give you anxiety. Then we've got air pollution, we've got more air pollution than before because we've got increased carbon, we've got traffic and everything else. Everyone's got 2 cars nowadays. So you've got that. So if you consider those things, this is why we're having more anxiety. And when you live up in built-up areas, lack of exercise, computer games, lights stuck on phones, you know, all the radiation we got from our phones. So I didn't realise you should keep your phone about 6 or 7 inches away from you, because I used to keep my phone in my pocket here, and it was one of the worst things you can do, because that's where your bone marrow is, and your bone marrow is what helps you blood and fighting infection and everything else. And at night I've started to move it away. I'll leave it over there now.
I'm recording on that.
Told
you it was raw.
Funny you should say that, because I watched this thing, so we're doing the 5G towers and whatever else. I mean, there's 2 points. One point is, did they not launch that or demo that at one of the festivals? And where they put these pylons and they're up for 5G, there was no flies around the bins, no nothing. So obviously there was a field. But there was a guy in Australia, and he blamed him 20 odd years. He had no, this is different. Look, this is a friend of mine who said he knew someone, and he always kept his phone in his pocket 20 odd years, and he developed a tumour there, and which inevitably killed him. You know, so there's some sense.
And we don't know. There's not enough research about phones, excuse me, about Wi-Fi and things like that. So with all these extra stresses in your life, if you're pushing yourself too hard anyway, there's going to be less energy for your immune system, which is your natural defences for things, and that's what we need to look at, you know. And I think that's why meditation is it's the new thing that everybody's doing, because for me it was one of the quickest ways of getting back to relaxing. And
what's your advice on, like, how you say that you need to recognise when you need sleep or you need rest? Now, with me, I'm the kind of person that I always thought of sleep as a waste of time. I need to be productive. I have to be up and productive from noon until night. Now, what's your? Because that would I feel that would get me down if I went to bed for a quick nap, a power nap or whatever, and then I'd wake up. I'd be hard on myself. Because I've had
the thing is,
an hour or two.
The word used is productive. How productive are you? So I would say, like we were talking about, you would come up with some great ideas. I think I can't remember what time it was at certain times of the day. And you come up with things, rhymes and poems and things like that. And I recognise that myself. Like when I wake up, just in the moment before I wake up and have a shower, I come up with some great ideas and they just pop into my head, so I write them down, and it's that basically what we call the alpha state. So it's not the sleep state, it's not the beta state, it's just and you can create that yourself. I'll teach you a technique to do that. But when you move your brainwaves from beta to alpha, that's when you become really creative. So I remember having a time management survey done on me when I was at BT and I was a manager there. And I used to work 60-hour weeks and silly things like that. And they're like, how creative are you? And they follow you around. And do you know what? I could have done 37 hours or something and done more. So my message to you would be, are you being productive or are you busy?
Yeah. I think that's probably where I'm failing. I'm busy, but getting nowhere. It's like a treadmill life, I suppose. You're putting the miles in, but you're remaining in the same spot because you've fixated on just that one speed.
Well, this is the overtime mentality we used to have. Like people would say, right, before I was a manager at BT, they'd offer you overtime. We'd be like, right, you're working Saturday. In fact, I had a dream about it the other night. I was thinking, so it was like 10 hours. You'd do the maximum overtime, and you'd be like, I've cracked up so many overtime. So you're working for an hourly rate.
Yeah.
But now I work for myself, I don't charge an hourly rate. It's how many people I can get into seminars and things like that, or training courses.
Yeah.
So I can be rewarded, like, just come back from training in Holland, and it was a big reward for doing that. But I've worked years to get there, in terms of what I've done. So it's about don't work out, how many hours you've done. It's what have you crammed into like an hour or two, and made something fantastic. Because I would say the best people, that you have peaks and troughs in terms of your productivity. So when you're peaking at something, keep going. It's like I was saying, sometimes I read a book and I read the same page, it still doesn't go in, close the book. An hour doing that, it's not going to be worth anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and there's other times you flow in, like you with your music and your rhymes and poems and stuff like that. You cannot not be creative. Does that make sense? You have to be in that creative mood. So if you stay in there longer, and what I would say is, I call it boom and bust. So it's like I boom, work my socks off until it tails off, and I know that I can't get any more out of it, and then I rest. And then I go again, and then I rest. And for me, it's been the best.
Actually, Kev's dad's brilliant at that. Kev's dad's took me on pads loads of times, and all of a sudden you'll be on pads, you'll get right, you're done.
Yeah.
Because he's recognised you've got tired, and you're not gonna be throwing punches that mean anything.
In boxing, I would say the first thing to go is not your power, not your speed, it's your technique.
Yeah.
Because when you're in bollocks, you can all still pull out that big shot, and that's your survival going on. But the first thing to go is your technique. So once you've got the hang of it, walk away from it. They go, well, can I do a couple more? But no, you've got it now. We'll do it again tomorrow, and just because what we're doing is creating a habit, be it a good habit or a bad habit. Once you've got the good habit of throwing straight backhand or 1-2 hook, once I've got the feel of it, remember how good it feels to do it right, then move away. Because what will happen is I go 1-2 great, 1-2 bad, 1-2 terrible. So I leave the gym thinking about the terrible instead of remembering it when it was great.
But in neuroscience, so I'll tell you, the neuroscience is you've got a part of your brain here called the prefrontal cortex. Some people call it the decision-making part of your brain, and it tells you not to do bad things. Right? So instead of you living free will, this basically filters everything you want to do and goes, no, that's actually a bad idea, that's a bad idea, and lets the good ideas through. So this is why people get hotheads. So when you're stressed, anxious or depressed, there's so much information trying to pass through here, it becomes like tangled. So, and then what happens is, instead of us making good decisions like, I should ring Kev when I feel stressed, oh no, I'm going to go for another drink, I'll do this, I'll feel
Antidote or the poison.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because of that. And if you actually, and I was saying that to Kev with anxiety, one of the things that I do, if I ever get it myself, is I put something cool, like a cool bottle of water here and at the back of my neck, because I'm trying to influence those two brain areas, prefrontal cortex and this, although it's by the brain stem, it's cooling down the limbic system, and I find that works for me. And the other thing as well is, if you get anxiety, is when you're relaxed, if you're really relaxed, you start to produce saliva. When you're anxious, your mouth goes dry. So one of the things I teach people, and this is with boxers, and I'll send this to Kev as well, you can spit it out, then have to swirl that water around your gums and around your tongue, and it tricks the brain into thinking you're more relaxed than you are. And they're just a few quick tips on how to...
On the bed tips, you were on about there's a method earlier that you might be able to show us.
Yeah, so I'll do it with you. In fact, it's called Lima. So the first one, so Lima. So you loosen your body. So you put your feet flat on the floor and hands on your lap and just relax. So as you sit back in the chair, you loosen every muscle. So give yourself permission to be lazy first. So loosen and lazy. That's the L. So the next thing we do is we inhale. This is the I. Inhale diaphragmatically. So it's instead of shoulder breathing, because this is anxious breathing. Anxious people, stressed people hold the breath or breathe really like short, like this. So we breathe down into the bottom of the lungs, And then breathe out. And as you breathe in like that, what I want you to do, I want you to pick a point on the wall, so straight ahead of you, and just meditate. This is the M. Meditate on that point until your peripheral vision blurs. And when your peripheral vision begins to blur, keep breathing like that. Just say yes out loud.
Yes.
And I'll just keep talking for the sake of the video. But what we're doing is when our peripheral vision blurs, it's a sign that our brain waves have gone from beta to alpha. And when we're in the alpha state, A, we're relaxing and recharging energy. Might not be massive amounts of energy, but we're actually putting fuel into the tank. But B, we're ready to receive the A, which is affirmations. So your affirmations, if you've got anxiety, would be, so just say it to yourself in your mind, I'm safe, I'm calm and relaxed. And you just keep repeating that to yourself. So I'm just going to go through the technique again for everyone watching on video. So L is to loosen your muscles, feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap, sit back in the chair, give yourself permission to be lazy. The I is for inhale diaphragmatically, pushing your stomach out. And when you do this, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what happens when danger's gone. So it produces calming chemicals, gets rid of adrenaline and cortisol in the body. The M is for meditate, focus on a single point on the wall or a candle or something like that until your peripheral vision blurs. As soon as you've got the blurriness, then you can use your affirmation. So if it's anxiety, I'm safe, I'm calm and relaxed. If it's just normal and you want to breathe out, I'm calm and relaxed. Just keep saying that. But for those who use affirmations, that's the best time to do it. If you use affirmations when you're in the beta state, they don't really, it's like, chucking mud at a wall and hoping some of it sticks. It's not very effective.
That's crazy. I mean, even just doing it for a few minutes then, and you mentioning the alpha state, there's something about that word that's empowering. Obviously, is why it's called it, but like you automatically, like you say, you relax and you're allowing yourself to reset your mind.
So for you as an artist, get into that state before you write.
Good.
Honestly, and what will happen is, Craig, your output is going to massively, it will snowball. So instead of you trying to create things, it's like I just wait and I sit there, and as soon as I can be watching the TV or something like that, or somebody says something, and I'll put it in my phone or write it down straight away. I've got, like I call it the war board. I've got a whiteboard in my kitchen. Any thoughts and ideas, they come to me and that doesn't make sense at the minute, but I'll leave it up there, see what happens next week. Yeah. And then eventually they come into something like, I created the blast technique for treating PTSD and trauma without consciously thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I said to myself, I don't want to treat PTSD and trauma. I'm not going to be that therapist. I don't think I'm going to be going into the deep stuff. Now I'm talking to doctors about it, and they're talking about doing a clinical trial in it, and all that is I've allowed my unconscious mind and the alpha state to guide me and direct me to where I'm supposed to be going.
I've personally done the blast technique with Nick. I was in my old flat in Kings Winford, and I had a bang on my door, and it was a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and it were in the house. Managed to get rid of it, take it outside, and it was banging against the door, and I thought, I'll take it around to the neighbours. Must be the neighbour's dog, and the dog jumped up and tried to bite me in the throat, caught my face, tore me shirt, and was biting me on the legs. Managed to get beyond the door, and I phoned up my mum and dad, said, I've got a dog here trying to attack me. Phoned up the old Bill. Took hours to get there. Mum and dad come up, the dog was outside, mum and dad got in. At that, the dog went for me again. Dad was trying to cover me, and he was trying to jump up for my dad. And I remember my dad saying, I was just going to throw myself on the dog, let him maul me. Yeah. And we got back inside, and what was going through my mind at the time, I was knocking about with my good friend, she had a 3-year-old daughter, and I thought if they'd have been there, he'd have killed the little girl. And that's why I was having post-traumatic stress, and you're just going over and over in my head thinking, how bad if you'd killed my dad, how bad if I hadn't had fast footwork, if someone's jumping up, I was diving back and trying to kick it. But I thought if I'd pause for a second, he'd have killed me, and then thinking about my friend and her daughter, and I was having nightmares, it was going on for ages, and then so when you just come up with the idea, wasn't it? How many years ago was it?
Well, 12 years ago, initially came up with it. We changed it to the blast technique, the name, about 6-7 years ago. But yeah, we used it with Kev to get that, because what happens is Kev was getting flashbacks, even though they knew the dog wasn't there and this, that and the other, and that's what people don't realise how debilitating it is, because it's like you hallucinate that you're being attacked at that time. And because of Kev's eyes, I remember your dad saying to me as well, he said, I was exhausted. He said, I was slapping this dog. He said, using and Bob's a big chap. And he said, so Kev had been fighting with the dog, Bob's been fighting with the dog, so for the pair of them. And Bob said, when he said in the end, he said, I was exhausted, I was prepared to lay down on it. That's how ferocious it was. But you know, we don't, and this is what I love about the blast technique. It cures it in minutes. You know, I spoke to a guy on the phone today, and he was about something different, and he said to me, "I remember all those years ago when he used to go into burning buildings and rescue people as a fireman and this, that, and the other, and he'd seen some horrible things." And he said to me, "God, I remember you waving that pen around." He said, "No, I had PTSD," and then he said, "I remember going to the cash port and just laughing." And he said, I've never been able to get it back. He said, "I don't know what you did." He said, "It's brilliant."
So
You still got that pen?
Yeah.
so even like the blast technique, is it without having to go in, is it hypnotherapy?
It's a mixture of different things. So what happens is trauma, when we experience a trauma, our brains basically encode it in the right hemisphere or side of the brain, so your emotional side of the brain, so it distorts things. So it will say that, like for Kev, it was like there's a dog there every day, could be round every corner. Oh, it might be happening now. Oh, it gives you all these doubts, and then fuels it. So the right hemisphere is going mad and saying you're in immediate threat. So what we do, and the simplest way to say is, I use a light pen, but move it in specific patterns when I see feedback from you, in order to basically pull the memory from the right to the left and the left to the right, so it's stored as a normal memory. But also use suggestions, because people are in a state of hypnosis when they're in trauma. Because if you're visualising things that aren't there, that's a deep state of hypnosis. So we use specific suggestions, and it processes the memory so that, like Kev says, he can remember it happening, but now he hasn't got an emotional attachment to it, so it takes away all the emotional charge. The great thing is, it doesn't matter what happens to you. I've dealt with some of the things you couldn't even imagine, and resolved them all. You know, and it's such a great technique. But
Reminds me of the Men in Black pen.
the neuralizer.
Men in Blast, you should read it.
Well, we have done some posters, so I'm going to do some with the pen.
So that does it in one session?
Yeah, so if it's a single trauma, one session, and I do it live. Like I was talking at a doctors' conference in London this year, and our national conference in Heathrow, and I do live demos on the stage, and normally it's about 5 minutes, 20 minutes max. And people are that. I remember doing it at Holborn. I was doing a talk for a meetup group that my friend runs, and there were 70 people there. And then I said the same thing about a woman. "Oh, I'm scared of dogs." They sat in there. "Oh, do you want to come up front?" Yeah. 5 minutes later, she couldn't get it back. She's fine. Anyway, a bloke said to me downstairs, we're having a drink. He went, "She was a plant then. How much did you pay her?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, 5 minutes to cure that." I said, "I don't know her. Why would I bother spending money to pay them to come all the way to London?" But sometimes that's the downfall of it. It works so quickly. But that's why I undersell it and over-deliver. And that's why I was flown out to Holland to teach it. Cause
I think we as humans, we genuinely have a sceptical view on things. Too good to be true kind of things. And a lot of that comes from the con mans, the confidence men and stuff, like the psychics and that. I seen this one program where they had a friend hide in the cupboard, and
yes, I saw that.
You know,
and he was writing the things
he was
down.
They'd ask him questions like, "What would he not know about you?" And, and they was writing it down.
Yeah, and then they passed it to him. It's brilliant.
You know, but that's where we develop that sceptical view from. But you can understand that person's perspective. From your perspective, you think, "Oh man, I wish you could believe it without." But for me, he's probably never.
Well, the thing is like I have some colleagues in my industry who are doing 4 or 5 times better than me, 10 times better than me, travelled all over the world with inferior products that they don't know how or why it works, and a showman and this, that, and the other.
This is what I was going to say to you. We've done a podcast, haven't we, about catfish?
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, just briefly on that. So that one was like with NLP. So this was something I was going to speak to you about actually. So you can almost use it for like a positive influence, persuasion, or you can use it as like a negative manipulation. And I think in the wrong hands, because I've seen it in the wrong hands. There's people who they know the exact right words to say, and they'll say you the dream. They'll pull on your heartstrings. They'll say stuff if they know you like to listen to stuff. Do you hear what I'm saying, or do you see what I'm seeing? If you're visual, like some of the stuff I know basically, but even as they're doing it, they've drawn me in. You know, I've got my credit card out and I'm buying stupid shit. So you're on about that, and it's terrible because you're taking advantage of people who just want help.
Well, the thing is some people say to me, "Is hypnosis dangerous?" Because we did the thing with Kev where we sat him over 2 chairs and I sat on him, and we're going to do that again on a video soon, just to demonstrate the power of hypnosis. And they say, "Does NLP or hypnosis make you bad?" And I go, "No, we've all got kitchen knives in our drawers. Some people choose to use them to go out and kill people.
Yeah.
We tend to chop fruit and vegetables and meat with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I say is you're bad initially, so bad people study those things and do it. And what I recognise is that, you know, I'm not doing this to make loads and loads of money. I have to make a living, I've got to, you know, keep a roof over my head and this, that and the other. But the way I operate, I'm not going to get paid as much as these guys, but I'm happy. Like, for instance, when I went to Holland, they paid me, they didn't know me, they'd heard about my reputation, this, that and the other. And I get a lot of work on word of mouth. You know, I don't advertise too much apart from the stuff I do in the media, but that's me writing articles for them. But they'd heard about me and said, we trust you, this, that and the other. Will you come over and this, that and the other? I said, here's the contract, da, 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 da. Anyway, they looked after me so well. Picked me up from the airport, bought all my meals, hotel, everything. Just lovely, lovely people. I worked through all my breaks, all my lunches and everything else to give maximum exposure. We extended the course dates just in case they didn't understand some of the English words, this, that and the other. And then they said, and then I get an offer from somebody else to do some training, who's a kind of a rival school. And I said, no. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stay with these guys, and I'm going to make sure these guys are my only people because they looked after me. So I want relationships where it's win-win. And and the thing is, it's like Blasphemy always do well because it's, you know, I undersell it and over-deliver. Because when people have that kind of training, everybody on the course get 5 stars, like excellent feedback, and that's what I'm happy with. Because if you maintain that, nobody will ever take that foundation away from me. So it will continue to build, and that's why I've got doctors involved now who studied the course. Psychiatrists, got 2 university professors have studied it. Everybody loves it. I work hard, and I have worked hard for the last 13.5 years to get all the neuroscience right and everything.
I love what you said then about like now I've got this trust with these people, I'm going to stay loyal to them.
Absolutely.
And on that way, when we're on our way to London again, you said, what would you rather have, love or loyalty? And your natural instinct is to say, well, I want love. And how did you word it?
I can't remember what we said, because
it was 10 points.
It was. I was drinking lemonade because I was just watching you. You rascal.
He needs watching. Very careful.
No, it was true. It was about it was love or loyalty. And I can't remember.
You're saying love can fade because love is often identified with lust, and you know when she's not doing this for you, when he's not doing it for you. But loyalty, they're there through thick and thin. Yeah, and it's that commitment, I think, because you know life and friendships they go up and down, and you've got to ride the waves, and it's about that connection, that loyalty you've got for each other. And I would argue that loyalty is love. You know, but love when you go love and lust, that thing, you know, you can meet somebody who's like amazing, this that, and looks amazing, this that and the other, and then it's a short term thing, and you're like, oh, there's nothing behind it. But loyalty will stay here for a lifetime.
I think you could look at loyalty as a really fine blend of love and respect. It's sort of like a deeper love and respect. Like you say, you'd have lust, then you'd have love, then you'd have loyalty. So it's like the upper echelon of.
I like that, love and respect.
But one of the key things I think as humans, there's some science behind it. I don't know the exact science, but it's relationships, and they've measured like your levels of happiness now in correlation to how good your relationships are. And obviously a good relationship is based on loyalty because, you know, if you've got good friends, you know, if you ever need to call them or you ever need them for something, and that loyalty is there, that's obviously going to bring up your happiness. So it's really important,
and it is, it's, you know, sometimes, and nowadays, they reckon our attention span is 9 seconds.
Yeah, I can believe that because you look at something and you go, oh, bored. Whereas before you'd have to sit there at least until the ad break. You know what I mean?
Talk about it in the movies, when you go blockbusters, you buy a shit film, you have to watch it all, don't you? You're not going to go return it.
A lot of that will be to do with like your social medias, because I mean like Instagrams and things like they give you 10-second clips, TikTok give you 15-second clips. So them sort of programming your brain to only absorb or want to absorb that amount of content.
And that's where education comes in. And when I say education, I'm not on about, you know, school or things like that, because education is all round. And there's 10 different types of intelligence. Like, so for instance, like if you're a boxer, you've got to have a very good physical, intelligence. Visual as well. You've got to be able to see, feel, and do things in a certain way. Like an architect will have a hallucinatory visual intelligence. An architect has to see buildings that aren't there. So there are different forms of intelligence, and that's why I say nobody's stupid. Do you know what I mean? They've just got different forms of intelligence. You know. And one of the things about learning is you can learn from situations. So one thing I teach myself is like, you might like this, you might have seen the advert, but one of my ex-girlfriends is a personal trainer, and she used to go, watch this advert, and he'd go, 7-second abs. And he goes, get this now, 7-second abs. And there's this like bodybuilder, and then this steady woman, they're going, I did abs 7 seconds a day, look at me now with this six-pack. It's yours for just $59.99, you'll pay 3 instalments. So that was our joke, 7-second abs.
Did you do well?
Yeah, no, we did. It was sold out, and hardly anyone used it. And you guarantee 97% of the people who bought that product are no different to the way they were, but they've paid the money, and that's the culture we live in. But that was the joke we used to say: if something was too good to be true, we'd just go 7-second abs.
Yeah.
And it's true. So when you look into things, it's like that's why Blast doesn't do as well as the other products. So don't shout from the rooftops. So go, look, this is it. I'll tell you the neuroscience in a calm way. It does this, this, and this. I'll do live demonstrations. I undersell and over deliver, and that's how we get word of mouth business, and it's taking off now.
You allow them in the bed for them to dream, others sell you the dream without the bed.
Yes,
that's pretty much how it seems to me.
And they're everywhere. You know, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. And that's why I don't put loads of videos of me treating people with Blast, because that's going to. And the other thing I don't want to do, I don't want to train unscrupulous people. I've kicked a few people off our Facebook group as well because of people going, I can make loads of money out of this.
And that's what a lot of people are doing with NLP.
Yeah.
They're calling themselves masters, like with the catfish stuff.
Yeah. And
all they've done is a course, like they paid 2 or 3 grand for the course.
Yeah.
And that's it, all of a sudden they're a master. You've been doing this for like 13 years, like learning it day.
Well, I studied it for longer than that. I studied it in '98, so it was like, you know, a lot of years. But what they do, they suck you in. So you go, you do the practitioner, then you can be a master practitioner, then you can be a trainer, then you can do trainer, and then master trainer. And we're like, what is next? Is it universal master? And I remember a woman coming up to me at this talk, and she went, I've done the masters. And I said, what, a master's degree? No, master's in NLP. I was like, oh. If somebody introduces themselves like that, I know I don't want to have a conversation with them.
It's crazy. It's because like, I did a personal training course. I paid £5,000 for it. You know, never earned a cent off it. This was for, I won't mention the company, but they're a well-renowned company, and you see them all become a personal trainer. Yeah. Now, I know a lot from, I've been training since I was 15, on and off. More off than on, as you can probably tell. But it come to a point where I did that course in 7 months, 1 weekend per month. That's also 14 times I was with them, and I've become a level 3 personal trainer. And like, you go to the gyms now, and the reason the personal trainers are sitting there watching the clients and this and the other, it's because they haven't put the 3 years of college and they haven't done the experience. They've got the certificate, but they're not qualified.
But you know what, it's your journey, and I remember somebody saying this to me, is the certificate is only a representation of the course. Yeah. It's a representation of what you've done. It's like in the gym, you know, whatever you get, your first fight, your record, it's just a representation of what you've done. Yeah. And it's all about you, and it doesn't have to, of course, it doesn't have to be long, because, you know, I know bad people who train people for years. Yeah. And practice makes permanent, as we've said this before. Yeah. So if you're with a bad trainer, you can train with them for years and still get nothing. You can be with somebody very good that will teach you something really quick and siphon the stuff away. But what I would say to people, and this is where we come back to the intelligence, it's about your intelligence in terms of the choices you make. Yeah. And what I tend to do is I think if it's too good to be true, I'm not going to buy it straight away. I'm going to do more research. I'm going to look into it and stuff like this. And always do your research, your background check. I think you were saying this on one of your podcasts as well, Aren. It's about looking into the people. Who did they not round? Who were they with? Can you see them live on podcasts? Because if you see somebody talking live without any planning, like me and Kevin on the radio, and that's why I love Kev. Kev grew that day for me, and I said I was like sitting back watching one of your mates level up. I was like, oh yes, Mr. Dillon. He walking out the door. That's why we had the debrief. Like, come on.
A celebratory.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's quite like to even sit here. I mean, this is my second time of meeting you, but you ask you a question, and without hesitation, boom, you've got a response, and that's how you know. None of it's planned. I mean, like I say, we don't speak prior to these. I didn't even know you were coming on until yesterday, I think, when you told me. You know, so, and that's how you know. But if you sit with someone and they've planned it all out, and you catch them off guard with a question that they didn't have to plan for, and that's how you know, like you know what you're talking about, basically.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot there, then.
Well, you guys.
As I say,
7 second abs.
Is there a technique that you can get Craig to do now? Is there something that'll get these lads to? Because I've worked with you for years, and one of the days, if we don't do it live, we'll put the video on there.
Yeah.
But if there's something you could do now, off the cuff with one of these lads, and just see if there's something you could do by
Stop me being
hypnosis. Yeah, stop me.
You got a heater.
Yeah.
You're asking me to relax. I was like, oh,
Crack the bottle of rum.
Is there something you could do off the
Well,
cuff?
yeah, as a technique that I use, it's a nice technique. The first technique is the Lima. So use Lima all the time. You know, honestly, I use it myself. In fact, I'm going to teach you the Blast self-care tapping protocol. Thank you, Kevin. Right, I'm excited. This is the technique. It's not as good as having Blast. The Blast technique is the eye movement with the pen. Now, what we found is that whenever we're stressed, anxious, low mood, things like that, so I wouldn't use this for serious traumas. So if you're not feeling yourself and you need a bit of kind of, I don't know, a bit of balance and things like that, this is a perfect technique to use. So the first thing we do is think about something that gets you stressed. Could be a situation, a person, stress, anxiety, low mood. Nothing too bad, nothing like a trauma or grief or anything like that. We all got something. And then give it a number, how much it bothers you between 0 and 10. So, Aren, if you had 8.
Yeah. I'm still trying to think
Okay.
of something.
7.
7.
9.
9, good one.
Probably 9.
Yeah. So, first thing we do, symmetry in the body. Feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. And then what I want you to do is I want you to identify where do you feel that in your body. So sit back. Where do you identify in your body that feeling?
I always feel everything in my stomach.
So Kev's there.
In my heart.
Heart, yeah.
Yeah, heart, throat, and
Perfect.
just behind the mouth.
Head.
Head. Cool. Right, so the great thing is 4 people, 4 different locations. That makes sense. So yours is moving up there, yours is heart, yours is stomach, yours is head. All right? Wherever you feel it, that's what's important to you. So you've got your numbers, and we're going to start thinking about now. One of the reasons that we do with Blast, this is what we call the Blast tapping self-care protocol, is when we stimulate both hemispheres of the brain, we get this transference through the brain as well. So the biggest clusters of nerve endings in the brain are between here and here. Found this out from a biochemist. So what we're going to do, still thinking about that, take your 2 fingers like this, and then tap above your eyebrows 10 times either side. That's it, nice and not too soft but not too hard. That's it. And then when you've done that, move down to your cheeks, still thinking about that thing. That's it, 10 times either side. And then when you've done that, down to either side of your chin. And then when you've done your chin, tapping on your collarbones, just crossing your arms over. And then we've tapped on the main nerve ending clusters from the brain then. And then when you finish that, put your hands on your lap. Now keep your head still, move your eyes left all the way, right all the way, left all the way, right all the way, left all the way, right, left, right, left, right. Take a nice deep breath in. And then say to yourself in your mind, I'm okay, and just breathe out. And then think about that thing and just tell me what number it is now.
4.
I would say about the
So
same.
literally the same time as you.
About
Isn't it?
4, yeah.
So what you do is you keep going through those passes again and again and again until and basically it's processing it in real time. I'm not saying it's a permanent solution for everything. Obviously, that's the Blast tapping self-care protocol. And I can send you out that if you email me. If anyone's watching this and wants a copy of that, I'll give it out free. Send it on an email to you with a video.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you email me on info@blast-technique.com and just put Blast tapping self-care protocol, and I'll send that to you. I've got a really good
We
resource.
can put a
I'll
link
put it in
on.
the show notes, yeah. Don't
Yeah.
worry about that,
I've got a really good resource for newsletters. In fact, if anyone's thinking of doing goal setting, I've basically given away a £500 course for free. If you just go to www.ndhypnotherapy.wordpress.com, Aaron will put a link up. But go into there and you can click on goals, stress, anxiety. There's hundreds of newsletters and videos on there. It's an absolute massive resource. And the reason I do that is because I recognise not everybody can afford to use my services. So that's what I've spent all that time doing over the last 10 years or so, just to give that stuff away for free. And honestly, what I say to people is, the goal setting course, people pay 50, 60 quid for this 7-second abs and things like that. But if you do a bit of research and you want to hear it yourself, just go on there and all the stuff's for free.
We'll share that in the Facebook group as well.
Yeah, and this is for like when Dan come on the other day, then it's about Tough Enough to Care. and the squaddies who he's working so well with, and he said, there is no cure for what I've got. That's why I mentioned you, and hopefully if people are listening to this, who listen to this, there are ways through it.
And the problem is sometimes the cures are suppressed. You can be a bit paranoid about this, but there is a lot of stuff behind it. Is, you know, what I think causes all the problems we have in the world is greed. And instead of speed kills, greed kills. And if you look at the world, it's greed. You know, there's enough food and resources for everybody in the world. It's greed kills. And one of the reasons that we don't have these resources, you know, if you think about it, I've been trying to get this into West Midlands Police and the NHS for the last over 3 years, connecting with people, emailing people, going, I'll come and talk for free. You know, honestly, and now I'm talking at a doctor's conference, and they've asked me back next year to talk. I was one of the first speakers asked me back, they loved it. And it's great when you know, I was nervous, like, you know, and I say to people, that was what we were saying, you don't have to be ready. You know, when I got asked to talk at the doctor's conference and they said, can you know, bring your blast technique? The guy who runs it's got a degree in neuroscience. So I'm like, shit, right, okay, these boys know their stuff. I'm out of place. I haven't got a degree. I went to uni, I dropped out. I haven't got a degree. But in terms of my knowledge and everything else, it's probably better than theirs. Does that make sense? Because I specialise in this, and I do the hard yards. I read, I test it. I read, I test it. That's what I learned from Kevin, his dad here. I did hypnosis and NLP, like you're saying, and I was like, being the big guy I am, like the teacher to me, and I was like, right, I work with your boxers, and then they were going, ain't working. And that was the best 18 months, Kev, his dad, and all the boxes in it, put me through an absolute mill. It was the hardest things, brought me to tears at times. But I said, had I not stuck with it, because Kev's going, just stick with it, change it, Jedi, change it. And I changed everything, and now I can work with anybody. And that's the thing that people don't do, is like, you know, you don't have to be ready. You know, I've spoke at conferences when I had the chest infection. Like Kevin said, he had flued up when he was on your thing. Don't wait for yourself to be ready. Take your opportunities, be brave with it, and then you'll move ahead.
You know what energy I get from you is a very positive and passionate energy for what you do.
Yeah.
And you sitting in the same room here and hearing you talk, you get that from you. You're not, like you say, you've got to make a living, but you're not in it to make millions of pounds.
Yeah, I'm not selling anything on here. That's what I say.
No.
I love giving the free resources out, and I love talking for free, because if I can help people, it's one of the great feelings when that bloke rang me up and was laughing about the PTSD.
Yeah.
He didn't know how much that made my heart sing. And seeing people, and I've helped people that are seeing, you see them going on to do great things, and I'm one of these people that I love to see people do well.
Well, look at us, Nick.
Oh, 15 years, Kev.
15 years.
How far have we come? And that was the thing on the radio, and it was, I know it's a bit probably spiritual, but I said to Kev, I sat there and I watched my friend grow that day, because it was a hard start, and then I was sitting back, and in the end when he said, was it your dad? And
You'll watch it on the video.
And they said, Kevin Dillon, he's our resident psychotherapist. Nick Daveis, you gone. And that day he grew, and he was bossing the interview, and they were just sitting there mesmerised by him. And he went from like being, oh, you know, these people are clever or whatever, this, I shouldn't be here, this, that and the other. And he grew and grew and grew. And I patted him on the back. I think we need a beer, mate. I think we need a
You
beer.
deserve one.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That
Because
was,
we're going to have to finish in a bit. So just before we go, something that Nick said to me once, would you rather be confident or courageous?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is, well, I'll let Nick talk, but that,
Yeah.
go on, you
But
talk.
everybody says confidence, but the thing is, confident. I'm confident I could tie my shoelaces, but it doesn't make me feel good. When you're confident, you're wasting time. If you want to get stuff done and you want to grow in life, be courageous. And I say, I would say I'm the most scared person in the world sometimes. I've been to talks with my peers. My heart's been racing. I've been sweating. Going, what am I putting myself through this for again? And then I get up and I smash it. Yeah. And that's what I say to Kev: be courageous. Be the lion that goes, oh, I don't want to. You know, I've always run forward into fear, and I'm like, there's my fear. Right, I'm going to charge it down. I'm going to charge it down. And now I started writing for the media and things like that. There's a lot more responsibility I have in talking to doctors. And I still experience the fear, but the courage gets me through, because I think, well, all I'm here for, all we're here for, is to help people. We're on this podcast to help those people watching, and if we can change one life, then, you know, we've done our job.
Well, I think that'll do us today, because I think that's a wonderful way of leaving today. So until next week, gang, try a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.